back to State and Local. I'm Anne-Marie Battistone. This is NCTV. And he of the mellifluous voice that you hear at the beginning of every selectmen's meeting is with me tonight. That would be Kevin Kalkut. He's the chair. Oh, Kevin, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Now, so tell me first, how are you doing with your knee?
Oh, it's getting better, very slowly but surely, but definitely getting better. No more crutches, no more brace. I'm in a much better place now. I did have a brace, yes.
Huh.
Big thing, went all the way up from my thigh down to my ankle. Terrible.
Oh, it's a big surgery.
Yes.
I think it's a bigger surgery than the knee replacement.
Absolutely. It felt like it for sure. That's a definite. But I'm happy that I'm back walking again. Able to drive was a big thing. And I was able to do a baseball clinic with my son last night without getting hit with a bat in the leg. So we're going to call that all victories.
Oh, that's good. Thank God. You know, I wanted to talk to you about being the chair and all, and you know what's involved in it for you. But I wanted to say, you know, one thing that puzzles me is the succession.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I can't think of his first name now. Palumbo.
Jeff Palumbo.
Jeff Palumbo would have been, or was he chair? Or he would have been the following year.
He would have been in this current year, correct?
Yeah. And so it seems strange to me that the most senior person wouldn't have that written down, that have the most senior person be the chair.
Well, the way that it usually would work is you have a 3-year term. When you come in for the first year of your term, you would serve as the clerk. Your second year, you would serve as the vice chair.
Oh.
And in your third year, you would serve as the chair after having 2 years of experience to build up to that role. We're in a unique situation this year. We had 2 new people come onto the board at once. So you have me, who is in my second year, although it kind of feels like my second decade, to tell you the truth. But me in my second year, and 2 new selectmen, both in their first year. So we had to get a little creative with the way that we structured things going into this year, and I'm sure we'll reassess as we go into next year as well.
But the way it was supposed to go is that Chris was supposed to be chair, because Palumbo had been chair.
Well, Chris's seat in his 1-year term would have been chair, correct. But you know, I think in our discussions we talked about, you know, having 1 year of experience on the board lent itself to being chair a little better than coming in fresh off the street and having to do that. And as well, Chris is also the chair of the ZBA, so he's already executing those functions and using that time towards another board. So it made sense to structure it this way.
I was there for that. But it just, is that written, or is that written down that would have been how it would go?
I don't think we necessarily have that written. It's just kind of understood.
Oh, okay. Because it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's the way the senior person should really.
With enough experience,
be the chair.
sure.
I mean, all things considered, you know. Now, I'm curious to know about the policy for commentary, because that just came out, and that's all been settled, has it not, from last Tuesday?
We're going to make some edits to what we agreed on during our discussion period at our last meeting, and we're going to bring forth an action item at our next meeting to be able to put that policy into place. So all but settled, correct. We're going to review it once more after we draft it up, but I think everybody came to an understanding about how we want to go moving forward.
Now, will it be the beginning only, or the beginning and the end, or what about that?
I know it's kind of confusing because we jumped through a couple of things. And just to give a little background, you know, this board has made it our priority to stir up engagement with the community and try to reinforce how important it is for people to be involved and be transparent. So we've done things like adding in the community office hours. We've had the public comment period. We've gone through the motions of trying to get people more involved during the meeting, calling on people if they raise their hand if they have a question to help them. But in these efforts, I think we might have pushed that needle a little bit past the point of being able to execute an efficient meeting. And that's the main focus, actually, of the chair, is to ensure that your meeting is run in an efficient and strategic manner. So in an effort to try to reel that back in, what we've done is we proposed 2 options at our last meeting, right? One was to have a public comment at the beginning and a public comment at the end, and then to eliminate any questions in the interim so we can move through the agenda and move through the business in an efficient manner. Go right ahead.
But it would be topics that aren't on the agenda.
For the public comment periods, people would be able to speak to what they wanted to, but the board would not be able to engage you if it was not on the agenda because of the open meeting laws.
So it could be something that's on the agenda.
Correct.
Even though you wouldn't be able to dialogue about it.
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. I guess I didn't understand. I thought it was items that weren't on the agenda. And the other thing I found, I'm sorry, maybe I interrupt you.
So there was one other proposal that we came into play. You know, we proposed that initially, and then the Norfolk lobbyists were out in force to come and pitch their case for why they believe that there was a lot of benefit to having those interactions within the course of the meeting to help alert the board before they take an action on a specific item. So I did draw up another draft that included just a public comment period at the beginning with the same parameters that we talked about, but also allowed the chair to be able to pick on people throughout the course of the meeting for a short interjected comment that added value to an individual agenda item that we're currently discussing.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Right.
It escaped me somehow. I didn't realize that was going to be, because I mean, I can take your point that I remember I was at, maybe it was it was a selectmen's meeting where somebody got up and delivered, it was a big tirade about bundling the articles.
Right, yeah.
Although I agree with everything she said, and it was all very interesting and sort of entertaining, but I mean, I can understand not taking comments during, because you really don't know what anybody's going to say.
Right, and there's also the aspect of the questions and the informational part of it. As the board's moving through, the intention is for the board to be able to address the business at hand. Answering questions that could be done external of the open meeting is something we'd like to try to, reduce, if at all possible. It's a funny line you have to walk, right?
It's true.
You want to give people the latitude to be able to ask their questions, be informed, and be involved, but you also want to make sure you stay on topic and you're running efficiently.
So now that's a monthly meeting. I mean, a monthly, when the individual, the one-on-one is monthly?
Correct. The community office hours are held each month. We cycle through the Board of Selectmen, so we rotate, and the times also rotate. Some are early in the afternoon, some are later, some are in the evening. This month, on the 25th, I'll be holding my office hours from 3:30 to 5:30. So hope to see everybody there.
Where's that publicized?
We have it on the Facebook page. It's on the website. There's an event that's put up. I'll be mentioning it in the subsequent meetings leading up.
What do you mean event that's put up?
We have a Facebook event that people can identify they'd like to attend, and then it'll make a calendar note for you.
Where's that? On the website?
On Facebook.
On the Norfolk community page?
I'm not sure if it was shared to the Norfolk community page, but definitely the Town of Norfolk page.
A Facebook page,
correct,
as opposed to the site.
Yep.
Because I put something on there about the meeting on the 8th, and there were no comments. Nobody said anything. One thumbs up. I thought, oh boy. But you said that somebody else has put something also on the Norfolk Facebook page.
Yes. There was an individual who put the full budget book on there, along with the times and dates and everything. So that's all up there as well.
Oh, that's good. But we don't know the agenda. I mean, we don't know the schedule yet, or who's coming and when.
Schedule's up there.
Oh, it is?
Yep, we have the slots filled with all the departments. We're all set to go.
And that's on the community page?
It is.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize
Also
that.
on the website. Also on the Board of Selectmen page on the website.
So that should be in it. I hope a lot of people come. I mean, it is on a Saturday.
It is on a Saturday, and the point was to encourage people to come. I know that the window's kind of tough, but at this point, there's not really a window that's great for everybody, right?
Well, what can you do?
Exactly.
I mean, have they done that before and had everybody come in like that?
So in the past, at least in my short experience, we've had everybody come in during the normal course of the selectmen's meetings. We've had a couple people come in here and there over a course of a couple of weeks. This year, there's a lot of added interest in the way that we do our budgeting process. On top of the fact that we have such a fresh and new board, we also have a new town administrator who just started with us in April of last year. And then you pile on top of that this renewed community interest in the manner in which we handle financial planning.
Well, the zero versus the old
The zero-based budget was one of the proposals that we're
throwing
throwing in there, and one of the things that we're going to be incorporating into the way we handle our review this year. So this was a great way to bring all of that together and really encompass what people are looking for and try to meet those expectations.
Now, do they have a form to fill out so they're consistent from board to board as to
Yep, so this is what
they need, what it costs, you know what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely. Blythe and Todd have done a fantastic job of aligning everybody onto this budget book format that Blythe has put into place.
Oh, that's good.
So everything has been clearly outlined in terms of some scope of each of the departments, what they work on, what they do, hierarchies and org charts for the individual departments, an explanation of kind of what they do in a daily function format, going through their historical budgets so you can trace the trending data. It's really well put together so that anybody, regardless of how much interaction you've had with town government, will be able to grasp exactly the path we're taking with the funding for these departments.
Now, will that be handed out to people so they can follow along?
So we're going to have some printed copies there. Now, it is 101 pages, so
it is.
In the effort of sustainability and preservation, we prefer not to put out 40 or 50 copies of them, but it is on the website. It is out there electronically right now, and if anybody absolutely needs a hard copy, they're more than welcome to go by the selectman's office.
Well, what about if you had because there's a blank that everyone's using.
There's a
A
blank.
format.
I don't know if there's necessarily a template that they're using that they're populating this info in. This was all hand done and put together by Blythe, Todd, and the team. So I don't know if there's necessarily a blank copy somewhere that somebody can reference.
Oh, okay, because I wondered if you had that. I mean, people could have that and sort of follow along.
Yeah, I think the best way to follow along will be to have the full budget book so that you can go through, highlight the areas of concern. Now, one thing to note is that for this meeting, again, in the effort to be efficient, we're not going to be taking public comment during the budget review.
Well,
it would go for days, right?
That's right.
So people are encouraged to send their questions in, send them in by email, write them down, bring them
they
by the
are.
office. Yeah, absolutely. We're not saying that we're going to ask them, but they'll be taken into consideration as we go into these review periods and meet with the department heads.
Oh, that's good.
But it is important, if people want to follow along, you can have your budget book with you, highlight the section that you have a question on, and then follow up afterwards.
Well, you may not have that many people there that that may be able to share the copies and look on with people.
Yep. Well, I'm an optimist. I feel like we're going to have a full house for the entire day.
There was one other question about the comment period because I was unclear about. Now, you said something about if somebody had an issue with somebody in town hall, that their name shouldn't be used.
Yeah, I mean, the point of the public comment period is to engage the board on something that you think requires the attention of the board that falls within the scope of the board, right? And if somebody has an issue with a particular department or a function in town as it relates to policy, you can absolutely express that in a manner that would allow us to be able to look into it and get back to you in an efficient manner. However, coming up to the table and going after an individual personally outside of the scope of just their job, that's not really the intent of the forum. So we're going to be managing that a little bit more closely to ensure that these interactions are done in a respectful and civil manner.
Because last Tuesday, a resident was mentioned.
Correct.
And I wondered if that was different than mentioning somebody in town hall.
It's all the same. I mean, we would prefer that individuals aren't named. If there's something that falls within the scope of the Board of Selectmen that we can follow up on, we'll absolutely address it. But like I said, we want to make sure that it's done in a civil and respectful manner.
Because you really don't know what somebody's going to, unless you make that clear what somebody's going to blurt out.
Yeah, I mean, we can set the parameters, we can remind everybody as much as we can, but at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of the chair to manage those comments. And if there's something that's out of order, it's my responsibility at the moment to cut that off and to redirect.
Now, do you have much? Does it take much time for you to prepare for these?
For these, I imagine you mean the meetings, or for the budget season in general?
Well, I meant for the meetings, first of all.
For the meetings, I would say we put about 5 hours of prep in over the course of the week, and then you do about an hour to an hour and a half meeting. I touch base with the town administrator twice, typically throughout the course of the week, just to make sure that nothing's come up, everything's still consistent. We go over the agendas. So there is a fair amount of time put into just the preparation for the meetings. On top of that, I mean, the rest of the select board will tell you that there's a lot that goes into being able to be knowledgeable and informed going into these meetings so you can have an efficient and knowledgeable decision-making process. So all in all, I would say right now I'm probably hovering around 20 hours a week dedicated to specifically town-related items.
Really? Huh. Now, what are those big pages that you're all given? Those notebooks, do they stay in town hall? But I know you want to
the binders, yes. So the binders are these incredible resources that the town administrator and our fantastic support staff put together for us. They include the agenda, they include each of the items, they have scripted motions for when we make decisions, and they have all the resource documentation we need to reference during the course of discussion. They do typically stay at town hall so that the team can continue to update them. But one thing that we've been doing this year to help folks follow along at home or in the meeting was to post those books that we're working off of up onto the website.
Yes.
So you're able to access them on the Board of
That's
Selectmen
another innovation that's tremendously helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing like that before.
Absolutely.
I mean, there was no time to get up and talk.
Right.
And it's funny that nobody ever made a fuss about that. To my knowledge, I mean, I don't know I don't know that many people, but I mean, I don't ever remember anybody, asking for that. It was just kind of, okay.
Right. But I think now that we've started to do
Was
this,
it David that brought that up?
David's brought up a lot of initiatives as they pertain to community engagement, but a lot of this was just between the board on election night. Everybody identified, hey, look, this is something we want to put a focus on going into this year.
Because you sat down right after the...
Exactly, and it's very important to all of us to get the community more engaged, more informed, and more educated on these things, so that they can contribute. I mean, we're only 3 people, right? We represent the interests of an entire town, so it's important for them to be able to provide that kind of feedback and give us the direction that we need to take us in the right direction.
And now on the executive sessions, now this is what I would like to know. Do you, in other words, any one of you can ask for it?
Correct.
But there has to be a vote.
Well, there doesn't necessarily have to be a vote. The way that it would typically work, as we discussed before, the chair is the one who structures the agenda and the meeting, right? So if an item comes up that could go into executive session, it would be the chair to initiate that. Now, depending on the chair, some people prefer consensus and might bring it up in another forum in an open meeting to discuss if it should be executive or not. So the board can decide as a whole. But in some cases, the topic at hand is so defined by the parameters for executive session that it isn't really a question. So if you're discussing something as it pertains to litigation or legal matters, obviously
Somebody's
that will fall
job.
in. Exactly. That stuff falls in automatically. But in some cases, there are items that could go either way. And at that point, it's the discretion of the chair.
So if one of the selectmen finds out something that they think should be an executive session, they would speak to the other 2?
Well, you wouldn't really speak to the other 2. If there was something that one member identified that they thought would go into executive session, they're able to alert the town administrator and the chair to that item, and then they would make that determination from there.
But then that could be voted down.
Once we go into the motion to go into executive session, it could absolutely be voted down. You're absolutely right.
And then, so it it isn't just one person that could initiate it.
Right. So if one individual thought that something could go into executive session, and then the other 2 disagreed and thought that it couldn't, and of course we're not crossing into any legal boundaries there, then you're absolutely right. There is no instance where one person could force the board to go into executive session.
But not just force them, but could can one of them sort of, in other words, as chair, can you sort of nix it, or do you wait for the?
Well, if it's brought to the chair does have the chair is the one who determines the agenda. So if it's brought to the chair and the chair doesn't agree with it going into executive session, the chair does not need to execute it.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting thing. There was an interesting point about the last one from last. It seems like a long time ago, from last Tuesday, about the bullying.
Yep.
That it wasn't specific enough.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing about these scripts is the way that we script these agenda items is, you ask one lawyer, they'll tell you one thing, you ask another legal professional, they'll tell you another thing, and that was the case with this. We consulted with legal counsel, somebody reached out to the AG's office, another person reached out to another town, and we came to this consensus that, there was just too many different answers going on. So to be safe, we tabled it, reworded it, and then executed the executive session at our last meeting.
Refresh my memory, what was the issue that the board wasn't mentioned? Was that the issue?
The issue was that the specific public body was not
the board.
Named. Correct, right.
I think a lot of people had a lot of interest to say, what in the world? Because I think a lot of people said, they just, in their memory, and as watching, they said, who came in front of that board that wasn't, and so I think a lot of people were kind of curious about that, but I guess we won't find out.
Well,
it was all settled, so I guess we won't know.
Well, that depends on the way that we handle the end of the executive session. When an executive session is no longer considered under the protection of one of the items pertaining to executive session, the board can vote to release those minutes back into open.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Do you think that will happen with the one from last Tuesday? Or have you
Too early for me to tell. Too early for me to tell.
Because you were in there a long time.
We were, yes. It was a very productive conversation, though.
But you had 2 issues, didn't you?
We only had one. The second one wasn't done that evening because there was a missing piece. It was a litigated matter, so yeah.
Oh, I see. All right. So is this something that you consistently enjoy doing?
Going into executive session? No, I do not. I prefer to be in open session whenever possible.
No, I meant just in general.
Yeah.
Is it stressful at all? Because it's all videotaped, and you own what you say.
Oh yeah.
I suppose people can always go back and say, I misspoke, or the way it is in a newspaper. If you've written something, you do a correction. But.
Right. So there are a bunch of not so great aspects, right? The scrutiny, some of the unfair judgments, some of the nastiness that's out there. Those things are not great parts of the job. All those things get wiped away so quickly when one of the good aspects of the job, somebody who thanks you for helping them with an issue, coming to a consensus agreement to set some direction for the town, or even just people identifying, hey, I didn't know that, thank you for putting that out there. I mean, that kind of stuff really wipes away all that negativity and really makes it worthwhile. So in short, yes, I still do enjoy it, but talk to me in about 2 weeks and we'll see where we're at.
Well, that's kind of a characterial thing, don't you think? I think some people hold on to things more than others.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way they are.
Right.
Now I'm going to ask a personal question.
Oh boy.
Now, your voice was never trained, was it?
My voice was never
Yeah,
trained?
I mean, you never had any voice training. Did you sing or?
Oh no, I do not sing. Yeah, there was no singing.
Because you do have a very unusual, very nice voice, and I thought
thank
maybe
you.
I thought maybe you had some point had sung or something like that.
Oh no, singing is terrible. And what's funny is one of the emails that we got to the board that was critical of some action that we was taking identified me as a game show host leading the board.
Oh.
So I actually took a little bit of enjoyment in that. That's kind of funny.
It's kind of not necessary.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got to laugh, right? You got to sit back and laugh at these things.
I guess you may as well, rather than, But so now you, what is just one last thing? What's the length of? So in other words, you or Cece or Chris could just stay on for over a decade if there's no time, there's no limit. There's no term limit.
There is no term limits in town right now for any member of the Board of Selectmen.
What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think that way different things there. I mean, I can understand term limits at the national level when there is so many different people who are qualified and can bring new ideas and perspectives. In municipal government, it's slightly different because there isn't such a demand. If there was an overwhelming number of people who are running year after year after year,
it's kind of a shame in a way.
Different story. I think you should absolutely be cycling through people after 2 or 3 terms. However, if you're not going to have anybody run, why would you have to leave the seat open and then appoint somebody to the role?
Well, you don't. I mean, it's, I wonder if that was the case so much with Jim Leon. I think maybe people thought they wouldn't win. I mean, even if they had maybe wanted to step up, because I don't remember him being challenged. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but
I don't remember many of the past elections having a challenger for the selectman's role. But I do hope that this new level of engagement that we're instilling with people and this new interest from the community and things related to municipal government will drum up some more interest for people to run in the coming elections.
Well, I think what discourages people, and I mean, maybe it's not so much that case anymore, but I know I've been here 25 years, and when I would try going to boards, it just immediately struck me that there was somebody really controlling that a new person was not going to get listened to, and that they had these certain people had agendas, and that was how it was going to be. And I think I think that people still worry about that, and they think, well, why am I going to go to this thing if I'm not going to be listened to?
Right.
Well,
I would hope that at this point one can see that even with 2 very new members coming onto the board, we've really tried our best to accommodate every different kind of perspective and take it into account as we make our decisions moving forward. And that's not just with our board. I mean, you see that on the planning board, there's a whole slew of new people. ZBA has a whole slew of new people. So hopefully that tide is changing and that perception is changing.
Yeah, because it's not a good thing for people to be discouraged like that. And it's just not for having 1 or 2 people having so much control. And I think prior to this board, I think that's the way it was. And I think, a lot of things, that, it didn't get done, sort of housekeeping issues for the town, that haven't gotten done. And, so I'm hoping that that's behind us. I guess it is. I assume it is.
Well, if you ever get that feeling from me, I hope you'll let me know, okay?
All right. Well, listen, we're just about out of time, but thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you came on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, not at all. And thank you for watching. Thank you for watching State and Local. And don't forget this Saturday, well, I guess the show will be on after the 8th, so we probably won't do many. But anyway, we're having this big budget meeting with all the department heads. The department heads are going to come in and talk about the budget. And I just want to say one thing that We here at NCTV, we really believe that these talk shows are a public service. Sometimes there's levity and it creates a little bit of entertainment, but we hope everybody sees these shows as public service, because that's what we're trying to do. So thank you for watching State and Local. My guest was Kevin Kalkut. He is the chair of the Board of Selectmen, or also known as the Select Board. And thanks for watching. I'm Anne Marie Battistone. This is NCTV.